welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach. And we are currently on Haddock Street, looking towards Verde Beach Central Station. And I just wanted to take a minute to get down to street level to appreciate what this city actually looks like on the ground. I think it's something that we can often lose track of, or at least I can. And you look up at how big these buildings really are in the downtown area, and kind of appreciate how much pedestrian activity there is and how little vehicular activity there is. Now, I know that this is, not necessarily normal in Verde Beach. Maybe it's a little more normal. This is part of having a solid bike network and a good public transit network, is that you end up with streets like this that are relatively quiet, where there's not an overwhelming amount of traffic crushing your city and overburdening your roadway network. So it's kind of a nice bonus in the city. But we're not here to take a look at that. Today, we are going to take a look at our oil industry and try to improve it from what was a 1-star industry, and I think it's now a 2-star industry, into a 5-star industry if we can. So we're going to try to improve this as much as we can and start to make this a really proper industry. In addition, we're going to make a couple of updates to our memorial park, and that's actually where I'm going to start. So I read through the comments, like I always do, and I saw a number of them that I really I appreciated. Some of them made me think about things I'd like to change in the build, and then some of them just made me go, I wish I would have done that in the first place, but I didn't. But one that I really did like, one thing that really stuck out to me, was the removal of the palms along the beach. Now, one of the reasons I like this is I think that it would help visitors of this memorial understand what the beaches look like as Verde Beach was being invaded. So I think that that's important to not have it decorated and prettied up with palm trees. So that's one of the reasons I like that. I know that some comments said, Normandy didn't have roads there. I agree, but to be able to get this asset here, I need to have a road to place it on, and I really do like this asset here. So another comment that I really thought was a good one was that these bridges are far too high. So I've sandboxed this a bit to see how low I could make these, and I could do a lot better. So we're gonna make that modification right now. In fact, let's see what we can do. I think we can go as low as 1 tile. So we'll get this right up next to this, and look at that. So close, no problems at all. And that's much more reasonable. That's just one single step up, and I like that a lot more. That looks really slick in comparison to to all the steps that we had before. And now one final change with the network. So I one of the comments said we should create all elevated paths through here, and oh boy, get all these junctions. I can't stand that. We're gonna fix it real quick. So one of the comments said it would be really nice if we had all raised paths through here, and hindsight being 2020, I really like that idea. It makes me think of when I visited the Acropolis Museum in Athens. There were a lot of raised paths on the outside of that museum to protect some of those historical monuments. Unfortunately, I didn't think about that at the time, and as a result, we do not have, I do not have the ability to do that without some pretty significant changes to the network. So we're going to kind of just leave it as it is. But if you are building along, that is certainly something that you could do that would preserve the landscape a little bit better, and create I guess more of a removed atmosphere, because you're getting right in the middle of the battlefield here, which could be good or bad depending on your perspective. Okay, so very lastly, I realized that I gave no pedestrian access to these bunkers over here, and I gave that to the rest of them. So I wanted to add one more. So we're going to add that real quick now as well. Okay, so I had to make a couple of changes to make that work, but overall, I think that this is a good improvement here. It gives people the ability to stay within the park's boundaries. I wish that there was a way that I could connect this without having a bridge over it. I don't think it's, I don't think it's completely necessary. So I think we're going to skip it there. We can force people to walk around the park onto this path and the sidewalk. Not a huge deal. And the very last thing I want to do is rename this. So I named it Bunker Hill. I guess I wasn't really thinking, and I'm gonna fix this now. So someone mentioned solemn palms, and I really like that. And they said you shouldn't charge for this, and I completely agree. So that's the way that we are going to handle this park, is make it totally free. Apparently retain the name Bunker Hill. Okay, so since we're renaming, I found a number of comments that talked about names for the new petroleum company. And one comment, or one series of comments in particular, stood out to me. They talked about Edwin Drake. And I didn't really know anything about this guy. So he was alive in the 1800s, mid 1800s, in the US, and he was an oil speculator. But more than just an oil speculator, he was the very first person to drill for oil in the way that was made famous in the mid to late 1800s. He created the drill that was used to drill for oil. And he made a lot of people fabulously wealthy, but he was not one of those people. He forgot to patent his drill, and as a result lost all of his money to speculation over time. So Edwin Drake's family moved to Verde Beach. And one of the reasons why this industry suits them so well is it doesn't have oil pumps. They are jaded to oil pumps as a family going back hundreds of years. However, they still are very much interested in the oil industry. So this is Drake Oil, and it is a pumpless oil industry. And we are going to make it the most wonderful pumpless oil industry in the entire world. Okay, maybe in the Verde Beach region. So we should take some inventory of what we've unlocked since the last oil industry build. So we have a 2-star oil industry, and the main reason for that, we have enough employees now. That was what was holding us back last time. We had to reach, I believe it was 150 employees to get to level 2, and we've done that. Our next goal is 350 employees. So we are significantly short of where we should be, but we shouldn't feel bad about that. We actually don't have enough jobs to reach that level. So as far as employment goes, we're at a good spot. We just need to really beef up this industry. We also have some issues outside of just not having enough buildings. So we're going to take a look at all those. So first of all, we've unlocked the workers' barracks. We have none of those right now. And I think these would be an excellent buffer between the residential parts of Bunker Hill and Drake Oil. We have also unlocked a small oil drilling rig, which the Drakes will not use. We've unlocked this petrochemical plant, which helps make some of the products used that are refined into plastics. So that gives us an opportunity to actually create some new factories. So we could actually make a household plastic factory, which is really exciting if we get that plant down. And I believe that's about all that we have right now that's new, but that's still pretty impressive. So let's start making some changes. And I think the first thing that we're going to do is start to expand our roadway network. So I want to continue using the oil roads, the small industry roads. And we're just going to, I want this to be very organic. These roads are not being built to facilitate some master plan. I don't think in an industrial area, generally the roads conform to the industry needs, and that's what we're going to do. I am going to put this road here right now temporarily as kind of a delineator from where we want to, I guess, keep the industry contained to. And let's set up some barracks along this. This will be what we use to separate some of those noxious uses from the residential uses. Now, one of the unfortunate things is that you'll see we have some extra space in between these, and I'm not overly concerned about that. We can put some landscaping there and make this look a little bit nicer, but it would be nice if that wasn't necessarily, if it conformed a little bit better, but not the end of the world. So this is going to give a bonus to our industry area, and it's going to take some employees. So let's take a quick stock of where we're at. You can see that with these 3 barracks buildings, we actually have the potential to reach our next level based on employees. We'd have to basically be completely maxed out though, so that's not a good way to look at reaching that next level. So next, I talked about the petrochemical plant, and I definitely want to have some of those, but I want to look very specifically at the oil, or at the area that we're going to impact. And I'm going to keep saying oil today. I don't know why, but it's going to keep happening. I mean, I do know why. It's because I'm looking at Drake Oil right in front of me on the screen. So that's probably part of the reason, but we're going to place these as far away from the people as we can. And that means placing them right about here. And I'm going to place a couple of these and try to keep these uses as far away from the people as possible. And you can see that we're overlapping a little bit, but these are commercial spaces, so we should be okay. It is going to make absolutely 100% all of the trees in this area look horrendous, but I think we're going to have to deal with that unless at some point I get an overwhelming outcry to incorporate some new mods into the build. I know that some people have suggested that I really should contemplate getting rid of this purple soil and using the mod for that. Just, I like it. I like the mod that does that. I'm not sure that it's the right choice. So Myrtle Street. Oh no. Of course it's going to be Myrtle Street. Myrtle Street, that's got to stay at this point. It's the reason I didn't connect this up to Brook is I don't want this traffic along Brook Street to start funneling in to this area. It's just not a good configuration. You can already see that we have some oddities here, and truthfully it makes me wonder if a roundabout could help traffic flow here at some point in time, because you see a lot of these movements coming around here, and that's a really sharp angle to be able to make here. So not ideal. The other thing I could do is turn this to make this a 90 here. You know what? I think for the time being, not because I'm here and I see it, I am going to make that one improvement, and then we'll get back to what I was talking about. So this is not a perfect 90, but it's a lot better. And I think that we're going to see a great benefit to traffic circulation. There's a big part of me that really thinks that at some point this will have to be upgraded. I think that there's going to be a lot of traffic here. It's not there yet, but it will be. So we'll resume that again though, and we'll take a look at what happens. This is just, it's a better configuration. The other thing that I think could benefit in this area would be asymmetrical roads. And that might benefit. It's probably not warranted right now, so I'll just take that back. All right, I'm gonna quit futzing around with that road and think a little bit more about what's happening here. So right now we are making plastics, and we need to do something with those plastics. Right now they're just sitting at that plant. That's not going to be good enough. We are taking oil in, and these are relatively full still, so that's good. That said, right here we have petroleum. We're currently emptying that. I think we're going to change that in a little while, but not yet. Let's mirror this particular medium warehouse right across the way. Oh. And here's where letting the industry dictate your roadway network has its flaws. So the primary reason that I want this is because I'm going to have a factory here in a little while that processes both the petroleum and the plastics that we're creating. So we're going to store plastics here. Now this I currently have set to empty. I think we're gonna set that to balanced, because I'm okay if some gets exported, but I am going to want to process some of these. I am going to want to process some of these into products. So I'm just looking. I want to make sure that we have some relative balance when it comes to our plastics and petroleum production, and the production between these factories is the same. And I have 3 of these sludge processing plants that create the petroleum. I only have 2 of these petrochemical plants. So I'm going to add 1 more of those just just for balance's sake. Now, I think the thing that's really unfortunate here is I would love to have some sort of barrier here that would, I guess, give more definition to this, the cargo harbor over here, or cargo terminal over here. This is not a harbor. But I'm in a spot where I don't really have the ability to do that with all of the oil on the ground that's creating all the pollution. So what I am going to do is just add a fence, and then I'll see if there's any other decorations that I can use to jazz this up a little bit, make it look a little bit more separate. The other thing I could do is I could have general industry in here, but I don't really want to overcharge this area with, overload this area with different industrial uses. I don't think it's necessary, and I think it takes away from the employment that we actually need at this area. Sometimes I will do that, but I don't think it's appropriate right now. So I was thinking of putting some rock formations in here. I'm not great at it, but the only way you get better is to practice. Please, if you hate these, let me know in the comments. You know what? I don't think I need you guys to tell me that you hate these, because I hate them. They don't have a purpose. They're just kind of there. So I'm going to get rid of all these. Now I am curious, are there any trees that can withstand the plight? Oh, interestingly, this little bush can perfectly survive. Is there anything else? Yeah, truthfully, the palm tree doesn't look terrible. It's just kind of funky. The bamboo. The bamboo can survive it. Of course the bamboo can survive it. Alright, so though some of this landscaping looks pretty scary, I think I'm going to add some in. So this looks pretty horrible, but we're gonna roll with it. So I used bamboo back here, which I think is an interesting choice, partially because it's so invasive. It's probably one of the more invasive plant species that I can think of. It's so bad, in fact, that if you were to plant it in your backyard, certain types in an area where it's an invasive species, it could completely overtake your backyard and completely destroy the value of your home. I read a story about this where there was a gentleman who decided he wanted a bamboo barrier for, fence, and he planted it in a row, and it took over his entire yard and pushed in his basement walls. It completely totaled his house. It was uninsurable, and it ruined the value of his neighbor's house too. So just something to be aware of. If you like bamboo, if you go to IKEA or something and buy a bamboo, do not plant it in your backyard. First of all, it might be illegal. Second of all, you might ruin your property value. Okay, and I do not know why I had the space to plant palm trees on both sides of this warehouse before, but I don't have the ability to do that now, and it makes me wonder the orientation of this building. Haha, that's what it was. I'm also sliding around in this road. Interesting. So the orientation is slightly different, so that's one of the things. And then this one is staying within, because when I built this road over here, I used the grid. It's staying within the grid. This one I didn't use the grid, so it's kind of sliding along the road. Kind of an interesting thing to notice. Oh, we've reached level 3, so we're already leveling this thing up, and look at that. We are almost to level 4 already, which I'm really impressed with how this is going. So we need to produce resources. We've already almost got our employees. We have the potential. We're going to keep going. So one of the things I'm wondering about is our fuel oil. We're doing fine. We're kind of depleting all the oil in this small oil tank, but we're doing all right. Let's see what we've unlocked. More pumps. So we could really do that if we were into that. We also have this oil industry storage area for raw materials, which is kind of a neat one. Maybe I'll actually add one of those in over here. Nope, I will not. So I will not add one of those. What we are going to add is the factory. We had this rock formation here. This is good and appropriate use of rocks. Someone knew what they were doing. Someone wasn't a planner, they were something else that is obviously far better with landscaping. So I'm going to leave this, or try to leave this here, but I do want to get that factory in place. So let's take a look. We can create a household plastics factory, and that's going to completely demolish that thing I said I wanted to save. So I think that what we're going to plan on doing, ooh, interesting. So we are just going to kind of be in a rough spot with this regardless. So one of the reasons I want to save this is I know that in industrial areas, a lot of times employers are actually trying to figure out ways to keep their employees active and keep an industrial area feeling, I guess, like a good place to work. You know, you can be in some pretty harsh working environments. So if you had the ability to take a look at this rock formation and the purple ground around it, maybe you'd feel a little bit better about your day. So that's what we're gonna do. That said, it's not as though we're gonna keep the environment around it is certainly modified. But I think now we've at least found a way to work this into this area and extend Myrtle Street. So that's always a good thing to do. Continue to make Myrtle happy. So we do need to fix our water pipes here. I'm gonna do that real quick right now. Looped and under the road, right where they belong. All right. So I really, oh boy, this roadway network, I'm not gonna lie, it triggers me. I'm looking at it and I just hate it. But I think this is the kind of thing that could absolutely happen. You still have this grid, it's modified, it's fine. This street has no purpose, we'll get rid of it. A little bit of wasted, or maybe wasted's a strong or loaded term. A little bit of underutilized land. But in an industrial area, I guess it's not going to be the end of the world to see that. You might expect to see a bit of that. Okay, I've managed to make that look a little more believable. So now we have a nice angle there rather than that crazy nonsense that we had. So every little bit helps. We'll make it feel polluted tropical. Love it. All right, so we should probably define what is being stored here. Oh, just oil. Interesting. That's right. So this is just the same as the oil tanks. This will probably be barrels of oil that are stored in there. Let's zoom in. I kind of want to take a look into here. Interesting. Huh. Very, very interesting. This person diligently performing their responsibilities to our oil industry. Perfect. Very good. So, as we were, and what we were doing was continuing to build out this industry. So, I want to continue our roads just a bit. And I'm thinking that this road right here is probably going to be, actually, I'm going to add a road right here. The main thing I'm trying to plan for right now is we're going to place our factory, and we're going to need some supporting warehouses and things of that nature to go along with it. So, something to think about. And I'm going to place this factory. We're going to terminate Myrtle Street. We don't want that to get too long. And we will have that come right here. So, now we're going to be able to get our petroleum and our plastics right into this building. Let's watch this go. There we go. Now we are producing plastic products. So that is wonderful. But we need a place to store all of these products. And I really want to do something special with this. So let's go ahead and put in a fairly significant warehouse. Well, that's obscene. we don't need that. We want large, but we don't need crazy. Okay, so I wanted 2 factories, and I wanted to really use that land efficiently if I could. And as a result, I was counting out the tiles, so it's 210 for either of these. And we're going to store the unique factory products here. And we don't have anything that needs plastic yet, but we're not necessarily going to end this here. We might. So let's just get water to this district. I don't necessarily need to have this within our oil district. I kind of want to just keep expanding this out, loop some of this stuff in. I'm envisioning this all being part of the same district. It's like we didn't need to have our cargo terminal within the district, but it feels good to me. It feels right. So let's see where we're at. Wow, we are getting real close to having enough resources produced and enough workers to reach the next level. But we need more. So I'm curious, one of the things that is challenging about this particular about industries in general is it's difficult to see, especially when you're importing, exactly how much you're gonna make. So I see that right now I'm losing money. Then I'm gonna export a whole bunch at once and make a whole bunch of money. And that's one of those things that I guess I've never been excellent at managing. So you can go into your industries over here and into your budget panel over here. We can take a look and see that our oil, no income, lots of expenses, total loss of profit. And again, that's because it's totally import based. So we are importing a whole bunch of oil and then we have to export it all. So that is a thing. Let's take a look at our factories to see if we qualify for anything else. So we can now make a toy factory if we wanted to. So that might be something to consider. We have the ability to make the printing press, but we shouldn't do that over here. Can't do a lemonade factory just yet. We don't have glass. We could do a clothing factory. We could also do a soft paper factory. And we'd also do a food factory. So we have a lot of things that we can do. Modular homes, we still don't have glass. So that's our last industry that we need to put together, that ore industry. But I think we're going to focus on some of these and really try to pump up our industrial activity in this particular area. Now, I think this is going to make a lot of sense because we're going to have a cargo harbor over here in the future. So having a really significant factory complex over here to me would make perfect sense. So I do want to try to make as best use of our roadway network as possible. So we're going to call a quick mulligan there. I don't know that that is exactly where I want to put that factory. Okay, so one of the main reasons I didn't want to put that factory there is I thought it might be nice to have some direct access to the collector in this area. So we are going to add the factory on Crowley Street with this great access to the collector. Clearly, I haven't labeled or renamed the roads here yet. We will get to that, but I think, like I have done in the past, you're going to have a naming episode where I just kind of go through and name a whole bunch of streets at once. That is generally how it's done anyway. They're done on plats, so you'd expect to receive a whole bunch of street names all at once. So I could do that, but I think it would really have a negative impact on my personal flow. So we need to have plain timber, paper, and plastics over here. So we already have plastics, but I do think I want to put a small factory over here with both the paper and the plain timber. So I'm going to put the timber in this outdoor yard. We're going to have this set to fill. And then we'll have the paper in this small warehouse. And we will also set this to fill. Now that I think about it, I guess we're doing okay on our values here. So we're good. Plastics we will get from over here. We should be in a good place. Just need to continue to build out our water network. So that's a stub. I don't love that, but it will work. So what other factories can we build? So this is going to be kind of a factory district. And I really like the idea of it. This is kind of a new industrial park close to downtown. Lots of employees, close to our future harbor. Lots of access. Good roadway network, and a cargo harbor right here as well. Cargo terminal. So I need to stop saying that. All right. So I do want to get back to our printing. I want to kind of go through all of these and see if there's an appropriate location for all of these. This is going to be unfortunate because we have to retrofit this in. And the only thing I could think of is we have this, at this point, 100-year-old geothermal power plant. But I know that we're living on the edge in terms of power, so if I were to eliminate this and add the plant back here, which I think would be a great location for it, have an isolated spot, unfortunately on a cul-de-sac, which I don't love, but a short one. I think that we'd have to replace that power plant. There's not a lot of other good locations. We could rezone some of this, remove some of our other activities, but I think what might make the most sense is just to look at relocating this power plant. I'm not going to demolish it because there's no need in the game, but I will say that a new one was rebuilt over here. Perfect. Oh, that looks terrible. So, quick mulligan while we level this. Do a little bit of grading because we should have done that and we didn't. By we, I mean me. That looks horrendous. And really, it's all of this stuff over here that should have probably been graded out. I think I graded it down. I recall why I did this. So it was easier to bring this down and kind of leave a wonky cliff here than it would have been to try to fix the rest of this. That stinks. It looks bad, but at least I got this flat. So there'll be a weird ridge there, but it'll work. And that's really close to the highway. In fact, I'd be curious that steam in a wind could blow over the highway and might be a little dangerous. So I could see there being some good value in having some landscaping to catch some of this. Ooh, and I put that right underneath the transmission line. That would never fly. All right. So we at least have the power in a spot where it still makes some sense. Wow. We've cut this off here, and we're lucky that we're not having a disaster because that could be catastrophic, but we're fine. We're going to change Aspen Street just a little bit, just for our new factory. So we'll bring that back here. This probably, if we're being completely reasonable, should be upgraded to a normal road. I recall there being some significant issues in this area being able to upgrade these roads, and I don't think that this is the time to address that, so I think I'm going to leave it for the time being and just roll with this dirt road back here for the time being. Better grade this to make it look a little bit better. So I'm adding some landscaping around the building because you could imagine that there might be some concern about the proximity to this rail corridor, not just for for aesthetic purposes and just safety as well. I think it would be jarring to see that going by all day, but not unreasonable. And that part of that might just be the types of workplaces that I'm used to. All right, so we do need to fix a water pipe over here and get that back to this neighborhood. Interestingly, the road Aspen did not carry over. Instead, we got a white way. So we're going to change that. And interestingly, it looks like Aspen turns to Holly Jones for a minute. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's nice. We got to make a quick fix there and improve things. So now we have this within the Lewis Lumber Company. This needs plastics. Interesting. I made a mistake. This could have actually gone in the other area. I personally feel like it just makes a little bit more sense over here. So what we are going to do is go ahead and add a small storage place over here. Oh, mulligan time. Scoot that over just a little bit so we can actually have, a place to store the plastics. I'm going to put that on an angle and then add some landscaping around it after I set it to plastics. And we want this to fill because of the distance that it's coming. All right, so this should work out okay. We are having problems with plastics, which is to be expected. This is a long ways away. So we're going to be relying on the imports coming in here, hopefully, and then bringing those back here, filling it up. And then I don't know that we have a warehouse over here that actually stores unique factory products. We do, so we're good. We are fine. So they'll take that over here, and that's where they will get stored temporarily until they're exported. All right, back to our factories. So we can't produce a lemonade factory at this point. Now, clothing factory. we could really have this. It could either be by the Hamilton Hills farm, or we could have it over here in our factory district by Drake Oil. And honestly, I think that's where I want to put it. But I do want to do one thing. So I want to look at how deep this goes. So it goes a little bit beyond this road that we created. So I'm actually going to start the road just a little further back. And what I'm trying to do is give myself enough space to angle this road once I get over here towards the other connection that I already have of, let's see, this is Greenaway Street. What a terrible name. Said I wasn't going to name streets. Well, name one. I think that's a fitting name that I saw in the comments. Yeah, and this is going to be a challenging angle if it's at all possible. I might need to move this factory forward just a smidge. Got it. It's ugly. I don't love it. I think that would be questionable and questioned, but it will work. The other thing that we could have done is we have an extra block here. We could have tried to line this up on that street. Oh, that's probably the right approach. I think this would probably be safer to have that angle mid-block than to have it right at that junction by the intersection. So we'll add that there. It's a little bit ugly, but it works. And it gives us the opportunity to plant more failing palm trees. And that makes it feel like Verde Beach, so we're going to do it. I don't mean failing palm trees make it feel like Verde Beach. I mean palm trees generally. But you guys knew what I meant. You know. So I like this clothing factory. I think it's a really cool looking building. I can imagine being an employee up here, sitting down, having lunch. And look at that. You're here at, your clothing factory, the, Drake jeans or whatever it is. New apparel. And you're having your sandwich and you're watching the ships as they go on and have their little conga line slamming into one another out in the ocean. You're up here enjoying a sandwich or a slice of pizza. Perfect. So that is what we wanted to do there, and we have everything we need except for most everything. So we need some more factories again, or more warehouses again. So we're adding a lot of pressure on unique unique factory items. So I did kind of brush off the idea of having this big warehouse before, but I'm coming around to it because we are kind of hitting a point where there's just a lot going on with factory. But if we're going to do that, we need a grade zone. So we're going to grade this building, and then we'll get to making sure that we have animal products and everything else over here. So I'm stealing that initial grade, and I'm running out of soil. So thankfully, it's not becoming an issue just yet. So I'm going to smooth it out, give us that nice gentle slope. Oh, that's nice. That is good. Come back over, get our tool to be a little bit smaller. Not enough soil. Let's steal a little bit from right here. No one will ever know, except for you and me and anyone else who happens to watch this at any point in the future. We can all take that to our grade. All right, perfect. So now we're in a good spot. We just need to continue to build this, continue to fix this, and Mulligan time again. I'm disappointed. So I had that extra 2 spaces there. Specifically, there was a 2 tile gap because I wanted to be able to make that jog in the road. It's not necessary anymore, and I actually think it's problematic. And the reason I feel that way is it's just kind of a weird strip of landscaping in an industrial area. In an area that is going to be close to downtown where the land values, even in an industrial area, are kind of steep. So you'd want to be as space efficient as possible, you would assume, in an area like this. So I do want to continue to orient it this way, though, because we have those great views of the ocean for the employees. And if I were to front it this way, the views would change to views of the park, which are fine. They're good, don't get me wrong, but it's just not the same. We've got to think about those employees. And I'm sure that during the development review process, those sorts of things would be talked about. Employee wellness. It's not just your body, it's also your mind. All right, so I don't know why that was so hard to place, but it was incredibly difficult to place, and that's okay. Took care of it, we got it down. This is a very important building. Something is off here with this road. It is making it darn near impossible for me to straighten things out. So the factory, yeah, oh, that's what it is. So this came in at a slight angle, and as a result of that angle, everything's getting messed up. As I plot buildings, draw future roads, it's messing everything up. So let's see if this fixes it. It's still doing it. Okay. Back to the drawing board for a quick second. Okay, so all of that was to deal with a road being just slightly off. And this is where a mod like Move It can be really handy, but it's not totally necessary if you are willing to putz and spend a little bit of money to get the job done right. So it took a little while, a little bit frustrating, but we got it to work. So I will take that as a win. So this building here is going to be specifically for unique factory products. So this is going to open up some of these other buildings that we have designated for unique factory products. So I'm trying to figure out exactly which ones those are. So we have two right here, and I'm going to change that to crops and animal products. We're going to leave that to fill because we're going to use that. And then we'll have, oh, that's right. For crops, we actually need to have a silo or something of that nature, which I find personally to be a little bit frustrating because it feels arbitrary, but we have to do it. So we could put barns, we could put these, yeah, but I think that what we're going to go with are grain silos. And now I spent all that time eliminating that little gap, and I'm gonna live to regret it. So I will just sneak these in next to the workers' barracks. It's kind of a weird spot to have these, but they don't look terrible over here. We're gonna set these to fill. We're gonna use that to process, or use that in our clothing factory. So we've got our animal products right here. Unique products over here, which can help industry in general. And then we have our crops. So this should function eventually. So what other factories do we have? And what is our oil industry looking like? So as we're doing this, the one thing that's a little bit counterproductive is I am adding all of these blue collar jobs in here, and not really helping my cause because I'm just kind of continuing to perpetuate my problem with workers. Just out of curiosity. So right now, this industry area has a need for 665 workers. I don't think if I expand this out, it will take these employees into account. Yeah, I know it doesn't count. Which makes perfect sense. But you can't fault me for trying. Yeah, that's a cheap move there, and the game is smarter than that. So I need to factor that in as I'm expanding this area because I am using a lot of precious space for these industrial areas that I'm creating. So I want to look at the rest of what we're going to get, and we're going to get some pretty significant buildings coming up soon, which is making me regret a couple of the decisions that I've made. In particular, I think I should have left more space up here. If I wanted to expand this industrial area, I think I should have done it, used this road, Victoria Street, as kind of the delineator. So, Mulligan Mania. Today, as we continue to iterate our factory, which is reactionary planning, not planning at all. So I apologize for that. It happens to the best of us and the worst of us, all of us. It is something that particularly, I think with these industrial areas, it's an easy trap to fall into. And I have certainly fallen into it very hard today. So, whoops. So we are having a power issue. I'm going to pause momentarily while I organize and orient these buildings. Okay, so there were a couple core tenets that I went into the creation of this district with, and I've started to deviate from them. And as a result, I think that I've kind of created a confusing mess. And that core tenet that I mentioned right up front in this episode is I wanted to let the industry buildings drive my roadway network. And after a little while, I started using questionable judgment, I will say. So I've gone back to the basics, and I'm again allowing these buildings to dictate the roadway network. And you know what? I think that the result is better. So we're moving in a direction that I'm more comfortable with. And I'm just gonna finish up getting these buildings over here because we need this to be a more logical layout. And one where we totally exhaust all of our industrial area lands, that's not a logical layout. And that's where we were rapidly heading. And this will give Myrtle another chance to have her street extend. So that's something. We do need to build some water pipes and eliminate some mulligans all over the place today. There we go. And I think we're in a good spot now as far as this goes. So this road right here, we could probably do something differently there as well. So we're going to continue to build out this residential area. I do think that we're going to convert this road and try to prevent all industrial traffic from going through this neighborhood. So we're going to have to give this some thought, but we might actually want to direct a lot of this traffic in a different direction. I think a lot of it's already going through this collector. Let me take a look. Whoops. Well, or I could upgrade this road here and add crosswalks, which is not at all what I wanted to do. Okay, so this is interesting. They are not using this road as their primary method of leaving the industry. They are using the collector, which makes some sense. Thought there was going to be more pressure on Fairview Drive. There's certainly pressure there, but it's really residential pressure, which is just, it's fascinating to me. That's not what I would have anticipated. There's some, but again, it's Black Gold Street, and that kind of makes some sense to me. All right, so where are we at with our population? We are just a little shy. Wow, just a little bit. So I think we might actually try to improve what's happening here. We could fill up some more oil tanks. At this point, I think it would be primarily an aesthetic choice. But that said, I like the choice. So why don't we do that? Actually, why don't we have a few more industry barracks? And we've got to be getting close to our maximum bonus, but this will give us the employees that we need, hopefully, to kick this over the edge. The number of employees at this point, I mean, we have a huge efficiency bonus. We went from 20 to 40. That is excellent. What is not so excellent is the grade change between these barracks and everything happening behind it. But I do like that this provides a significant buffer between our residential area and the industrial area. And we are going to continue to build out a little bit of the Bunker Hill neighborhood. So we're in a unique spot in this neighborhood in that even though we're really close to downtown, we have a really wonky roadway network. And the main reason for that is we have really tried to conform to some of our land uses, and as a result, you can't really have a proper grid. So you have this other thing going on. So this is probably going to be one of the few spots I use a cul-de-sac. The other option would be to come in here and kind of loop around. I don't love that either. So I think we're going to have a short cul-de-sac. No cul-de-sacs in downtown. No cul-de-sacs ever, truthfully. Just kidding. I know that might really upset some people. I think it's no shock to anyone about how I feel about cul-de-sacs, but they're the choice that some people like to have. So I will make this a connected roadway network in this area with a bunch of junctions on this collector, which I hate, but we will prioritize some of those movements and catch an issue. So that's interesting. So one of the things that, is a challenge through here is this road is eventually going to function as a collector. King Street is essentially a collector. It's if you look at it, in fact, I'm going to extend that. I know that I converted that industrial road. I'm going to go back on that just so that I remember that this is an industrial, that this is going to function as a collector, because we have a collector here, a major collector, and this is connected to another collector. And functional class is based partially on the roadway, the actual roadway design and configuration, and partially on the way it functions, the number of accesses, how people use it, the amount of traffic, and this would certainly be considered a collector. So we will deal with that. It does provide the direct connection through here as well. We could have built that as a collector. That might have been logical, but truthfully, I'd much rather would rather have all of this freight traffic kind of going off Sunset and not on Sunset. So I don't mind that entirely. And we've reached level 4. All right, so this is great. We are a number of resources away. So what we need at this point, we're almost there for employees. It's resources. So we need to really take our production to the next level. We have a lot of new buildings to help us get there. So we finally have an oil industry maintenance building. So I do think that we're going to place this kind of in a centrally located area, and Brook Street might be that area. Let's expand our industry area a bit. So let's expand and contract. We know that this is not actually in our industry area, so let's not fudge the numbers. And we know that this will be our industry area, so. All right, that in my mind is significantly better. So let's get this thing going. Let's get this working well. So I think I'm going to place this kind of in between here. We'll leave this to be a forested buffer in between this area. A nice little entryway into this district. Now we have oil refinery plants, which are not very big. Interesting. So that's something we could probably actually squeeze a couple of these into this area. So maybe we should be a little bit more thoughtful about our land uses. Yeah, I think we were thoughtful. So I'm going to put this back, and we will add some of these in down here. Just going to want to compare the size of these buildings. So the refinery produces 8,000 units a week. The sludge plant produces 4,000. So it's double the production in approximately the same footprint. I really want monster production, so I think I'm gonna just really crank it out here. Now the one thing I'm gonna change, I oriented those towards Victoria Street. I'll turn that around because I'm gonna add warehouses right across the street. We do have these warehouses right here as well that have the oil storage. So this is going to produce petroleum. I'm going to change this building around and orient it towards Myrtle, which is probably tempting fate. But now we'll have all of this right here in close proximity. So we have this petroleum. Let's see, we're really full there. That's okay. I think that we're in a good spot with that. So we also have all of these crude oil tanks, which they're huge, and I think that they're awesome looking as far as assets go. So even though I don't think there's a huge need for these, if we take a look, we've got these, they're a third full, 0% full, 64. Yeah, those are, I kind of want one just because they're, in my mind, a pretty neat looking asset, but I don't think we're going to push it just yet. That's going to create traffic, 25 freight vehicles. And the interesting thing, so they have a freight count, a truck count right on this diagram. And when I'm reviewing plans for industrial areas, that's something we'll look at. We'll say, how many trucks do you have in the morning? How many trucks do you have in the evening, in the afternoon? What kind of trucks are they? All of those things factor into how much damage they'll do to the road, how loud they're going to be for the neighbors, how much traffic it's going to dump onto the regional roadway network. And these are all things that we need to think about when we're planning for these types of facilities. So those would certainly be factors in my mind if I were planning this area. That said, no need to dump a bunch of traffic onto this road just because I feel like it. If I were going to redevelop this, which, there's so much pollution in this area, the only way that I could reasonably see redeveloping it would be if we were to remove some of these buildings over to here, which we could do. We could, kind of take all of this refining activity and put it in one location and kind of green up this area. But I don't know if it's really worth it. Like right here, this one, we could move it. We'll try this one just to see what it does over here. Because if there's any that are really detrimental to this area, it's probably that one. We'll again add some offices over here. Hopefully this cleans up some of the pollution that we had over here. I'm trying to think if... Yeah, so the actual oil tankers produce no pollution. Or the storage tanks. These produce a ton of pollution. When we take a look, see, 50 pollution for both noise and regular pollution, 70 for the petrochemical plants that I placed. These new ones are 80, so we definitely want to keep those far away from people. We've concentrated a whole bunch of those. And I think as far as buildings go, because we aren't using the pumps, that's what they keep giving us. And these last couple of plants are really beneficial towards level, or we'll get them at level 5. At this point, our main problem is resource production and workers, and we're getting closer on workers. We just need to increase our population. I am noticing, though, that we're starting to have some garbage problems, and that's not at all surprising. If you think about what we've done over here, we've made all of this new industrial activity. We've done absolutely nothing with our waste processing. So it looks like we've also got a couple. So we have this petroleum refinery, but we need metals, soft paper, which we could do. Again, I'd probably put that in the other location. Food factory, modular home, lemonade. So part of me wants to create this soft paper factory. First of all, I mean, that building, that is huge and spectacular in so many different ways. I love this building. I shouldn't do it, but I might. I'm gonna do it. So we're gonna need papers. Then we're gonna need paper over here, I believe. Oh, and flour, animal products. This is a terrible location for it. In fact, the better location is probably over here. This collector is a terrible location for a factory, but backing it off the collector would be a great location. So I am going to force myself to not do that. So, all right, let's work a little bit on population. I think we're going to build this neighborhood out to approximately the end of this road here. And what I'm going to do is just kind of have a normal network of roads through here and then curve into... By normal, I mean I want a nice square network of roads through here, and then I'm going to curve them as they reach Sunset, because I really want the connections with Sunset to be at 90s if at all possible. And then I'm just kind of going through in here and trying to maximize our zoning if at all possible. So you can see we have a modified grid in here. It is not at all normal. There are patterns, roadway patterns that you can see through here. I really don't like this. But I also don't see a lot of their options. Especially if our main goal was to maximize our zonable land, which I think that would be the goal, right or wrong. So, okay, let's get some water pipes. Now, one thing I could already see is that we are having issues with water, or we are about to. So I think I am going to place over here kind of a feature water tower. So it's near this, I don't know that I love that. It's far enough away from the pollution. Yeah, let's try one more location. We'll put that back here by the bridge. We can go diagonal into there because there's no home. Mulligan without any harm. Now, we should really take a look at our fire hazard. I know that we've really increased it over here, and I'm sliding all around with my mouse right now. It's weird. So let's focus on having some protection over here. We'll get that onto Thomas Street, which will give us coverage to basically this entire area. Our police protection is actually pretty good because of its location. Except for at that main building, apparently there's some crackdowns at the main office. Maybe the mob's involved. Our healthcare coverage is going to be okay. Death care, okay. Child healthcare, not so good. Elder care, non-existent. So I do think we want to think about both of those facilities. And the nice thing about having some of these abnormal lots is that you can fit in some of these large buildings fairly simply. So I do like that about this. I also want to think about elementary schools. So we do want to, I know that we have the schools out policy within Bunker Hill, which is fine and makes a ton of sense. However, we still need to have basic education. You don't want someone to, just because we want them to work at the refinery, to not have an elementary education. We're going to go through and just zone all of this now. So I wanted to make sure that I expand the neighborhood into this area because the policy set is exactly what I need in this area. I could make this a separate neighborhood with a different name, and that might make perfect sense. In fact, I'm going to do it. So the reason why I'm going to do it is I want to change the building theme. Highland Hills. That is a horrendous neighborhood name, but we'll roll with it. Or maybe it's lovely. I can't tell. Can't tell how I feel just yet. So I'm going to go with European Suburbia, just to give it a different feel. And we will also still have our schools out policy. And someone mentioned that I have my recreational use policy just in I think it was a tourism district, so might as well get that fixed as well. Let's watch this grow. Let's wait on watching this grow because I did make one mistake. So we have had a high density land use pattern along Sunset, and I think it makes a ton of sense to continue to maintain that. I also am a little dubious about my lack of commercial in this neighborhood. I think it's a poor planning decision. We need at least a little bit of commercial so that someone could get a bite to eat, go to a restaurant, get a haircut, grab a cup of coffee. That is much better. That is what I was trying to do, or I should have been trying to do rather. Bring this down to cover all of those residential areas along this, on the south side of, or I guess west side of Sunset. So we just don't have all that much residential demand right now. We have a whole bunch of commercial demand, and I want to meet that demand. I'm always a little, I guess particularly right now, I'm a little uneasy about it just because I know that this will also require employees. But the city needs what the city needs. Let's see where we're at with our employees. Yeah, we're just a little shy. And I think that we are probably going to have to leave it here because I don't know that this is going to be something that we remedy anytime soon. We're only about halfway to our resource level that we need. We are, fairly short on our worker level, and that's okay. We can. No, we're gonna wait. Okay, so I have been simulating a little while, and one thing I'm noticing is that we just aren't producing all that much in the way of plastic, at least in comparison to our oil at this point. So I am going to pump that up by adding a few more petrochemical plants, and this will kind of be our dirty little district. There we go. And this is going to help out a ton. We're really close to our plastics plant, so we're good there. And this is going to help because one of the things I'm noticing is that we're not meeting our resource requirements as quickly as I'd like. I've also added the improved worker safety and supervision, the improved work safety supervision policy, because I think it's really important that at this point we had this many employees and we have the employees that we need to meet our next threshold. We have a really great safety policy. At this point, it might make some sense to actually relocate some of these dirtier industry areas over here because we have this concentration, but we're okay for the time being. Okay, so we've finally done it. I've been sitting here for about 20 minutes just wondering how long it would take for this industrial area to become a 5-star area. And it was about 20 minutes. It was just waiting for enough production to occur. That said, we've done it. This is a 5-star import-based oil industry. And we're making lots of money. I know it doesn't look like it, but since the start of the episode, we've made, I think, about $700,000. We've added about 2,000 population. And when we look at our measures, we're making about $30,000 weekly profit. It bounces around. So we've also unlocked some new buildings, like this naphtha cracker plant. So this is another oil producing building. We'll add one. Plastic producing building. It produces as much plastic as these smaller oil refinery plants create oil. So they are bigger, but they do a lot. What else have we unlocked? I don't know that there's much of anything else. I guess we have this offshore oil drilling platform that we now have unlocked. And I think that's about it. But this is still, wow. And look at all of the offshore oil that we could collect now if we wanted to. So that is certainly an approach that we could take. It's not one that I'm likely to take, but it's certainly something that we could do. Let's finish this by cleaning up the oil industry. We'll add a road here. Probably should be a 90, but it's okay. We are fine. I am very relaxed now that we have created this nice oil industry. And last but not least, let's go through and clean up our district boundary. And now that we have this 5-star oil industry, the Drake family can rest easy knowing that even though the Edwin Drake, the former patriarch of the family that couldn't make his riches in oil, had troubles in this industry, at least his family was able to create an excellent oil industry that made the city wealthy and the family very wealthy. So I think we're in a good spot. We're going to leave it here today. I think maybe the most impressive thing, and maybe I'm just guessing, is we've had no disasters, no fires, even though we let this thing simulate on the highest speed for 20 minutes. Nothing burnt down, which really tells me that our fire protection is on point. We're in a good spot. Anyway, we are going to leave it here. If you like this video, please consider hitting that like button. It really does help out the channel. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when I release new videos. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. They help me make the channel what it is. And I want to thank you as well. You also help me make the channel what it is. And I'm going to leave you with a brief city tour like I always do. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.